Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in for Casual Convos and Random Ish with Jamie O, a podcast that discusses life, love, and all that other ish. Let's get to it. Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in. We're back with another episode on Casual Convos and Random Ish with Jamie O, and guess who? Nurse Bay. So today's episode is a special episode, and it is going to be centered around loss and grief. I know that all of us have experienced that in our lives before, and today we want to talk about how we as individuals cope with loss and some of the experiences that we have had. So, Nurse Bay, go ahead and tell us about, what this episode, why this episode is so special.
Well, this episode is really special to me because some may know. 4 years ago, it'll be 4 years on the 27th of this month, I lost my daughter. She was my third child. She was 17. It was unexpected. It was just a traumatic and tragic moment. She was in a car accident and she ended up drowning. And so I figured that instead of doing balloons, instead of doing flowers, those things that, kind of fade away, I figured that I would do something that would last a little bit longer as far as discussing, what happened with her, and how it affected me and how I've been trying to manage for the last 4 years. I may get a little emotional.
That's okay.
But I really feel like this is a part of my healing. It's trying to get to that point of acceptance, and that's been a really hard thing for me. And so that's why, I came to one of my besties and said, I think that this would be a great idea is to discuss that. And so, I feel like it can help someone else, and that's the main part about it is I really want to be able to help someone else and allow them to be able to relate to what is going on and how to try to navigate through it, because it's not an easy process. And so this is what we're going to do today, and this is for my daughter, Kalia. I love you.
Yes, Kalia, keep resting.
Yes.
So, just to piggyback off of Kalima, I lost my father actually 3 years ago, and actually today is the 3-year mark for his wake, and tomorrow is the day of his funeral. So I've kind of been dealing with that, but I want everybody to know that when you talk about loss and grief, it's not only, because of somebody died. Loss and grief can occur with a divorce.
Yes.
It can happen with a breakup in a relationship. It can be a job, loss of friendships, a miscarriage, or it could be that one of your loved ones have a serious illness, and that's causing you a bit of grief. And basically, it's anything that's significant to you. You have the right to grieve.
Right.
And there's not a right or a wrong way to grieve. And grieving is actually a natural response to loss. Mm-hmm. But I know some people like to try to stuff things and be in denial and not allow themselves to grieve. Right. I sometimes ask myself if I really grieved my dad dying.
Right.
Because when he died, it was kind of like go mode. I gotta get this stuff in order. Yep. I gotta handle business.
Staying busy.
So just being able to grieve, sometimes I wonder if I really grieve, because I still have moments to where I break down. Yeah. It could be the slightest thing that may trigger. It could be I looked at a picture, or it was a scent that came through it and I smelled it. Or, I work at the hospitals, every other weekend, and it could be that I'm taking somebody back to the same ICU my dad died in. Or it's the same condition. Like when I worked in appeals and grievances for a good while, I would come across quite a few medical records of people who had the same issue my dad had. And it was really a little bit tough for me to even work those, because all I could think about was my dad.
Right.
And another thing that I want to kind of mention though, because with loss and grief, some people, they be like, well, I'm scared to be happy, or I'm scared to move on. And it's okay to move on, because it don't mean that you've forgotten them.
Yeah.
When you're starting to get into that process of moving on, that means you are accepting, what has happened. You're no longer in denial. You're not angry. You're just accepting that that's what it is. That's what happened. And you are just, just going off the memories and all the moments that you've shared, with that particular person. We do know that there are different stages of grief. Everybody don't go through all those stages of grief, which I kind of named some of them. First is denial, then it's anger, and then it's kind of like this bargaining thing. Like, well, if I do this, then this will happen. Will this happen? If you just do this, Lord, I'll stop doing this. Something like that. And then acceptance is also one of the stages of grief as well. But all of us don't go through all those stages in order to heal, and we don't necessarily have to go through all those different stages to heal. So when we are talking about coping, what are you doing today that's different from what you were doing before to cope with loss?
Today is definitely different from 4 years ago. Today is definitely different from 2 years ago. For me, as far as the stages of grief, I never knew what those were anyway. As we discussed before, no one prepares you for losing a loved one. I mean, you know that the natural order of things is a grandfather, and then your parents, and then you, and then your children. But no one ever prepares you for losing a child. I never got the opportunity to bargain, because it was so quick. It was something that was, it just happened. So trying to bargain, I didn't have that. I don't honestly think that at this point in my life, I literally said today, like you said, I don't think I had the opportunity to grieve. I think I'm just now getting to a point where I'm actually allowing myself to grieve, because when everything happened, I was in a state of shock. It did not register. All I had was panic and shock and disbelief. I don't know if I got to the point of being angry. I think now I think my anger may be resentment sometimes. I find myself not wanting to see certain things or certain people, because I know that it's hard sometimes to be in the room with all of my daughters. Well, with Carrie and Asia, because I know that Kalia is missing. It's hard to even think about it. So I have built up this wall of protection to keep me from breaking down, because my greatest fear is losing it to the point where I can't come back, because I dealt with just giving up. I gave up. It's not even a matter of, I gave up. So I say I'm not at the place that I was 2 years ago, because 2 years ago I had given up. I had shut down. I wouldn't leave the house. My family, would try to get me to go places, and I just wouldn't. I literally was giving up. So what coping looks like for me today is therapy. Coping today is trying to work through allowing myself the opportunity to grieve. Coping is talking to close friends and family that are willing to, whether they are, even though they don't have that experience, they're there to listen. They're a listening ear. So coping for me is different. I'm just trying to literally take it day by day. And even 4 years down the line, sometimes it feels like it was yesterday. Sometimes it's hard to walk past a picture. Sometimes it's hard to, and like you said, feel guilty. Like, there's great things that are going on in my life, but it's like, I'm not supposed to be happy. I literally felt like I wasn't supposed to be happy anymore. But, some people will tell you, You have kids that you can live, that are still here that you have to live for. But it's like, I feel guilty. I feel like I'm leaving my child behind. Literally in 2017, when 2018 was getting ready to hit, I dreaded 12 o'clock because I literally felt like I was leaving my child in that year. And her birthday was coming up. So those are times that, it's really, really hard. But I didn't get the chance to grieve like I wanted, like I needed to. Because after Kalia passed, I had people telling me that I needed to be a certain way. People are watching you. They're trying to see what God, is doing in your life. So you got to act a certain way. But you can't, nobody can tell you, how to be, as far as it is with grief and how you're coping. Yeah. So, it's been a long road. It's been long, Jamie.
I know it.
It's been long.
I know it.
And it's hard. Grief looks different for everybody.
It really do. It really do, because I feel like some people can, look at me and think that, ain't nothing wrong with her.
Right.
She ain't been through nothing. She's still laughing and kicking and everything. Well, you don't know how I am in the privacy of my own home. Right. You don't know that I cry every day.
Right.
You don't know what I really, deal with. And that's the thing. And one thing that I hate when you've lost someone, how they always tell you need to be strong for other people. Don't tell nobody to be strong, because that's a lot of reason why people don't get to go ahead and just grieve they need to grieve, or something happened, you have a breakdown. I had a breakdown at work, you know what I'm saying? And then it's just like you're letting it all out. You're letting it all out. Your body
can't hold all of that. It's like, my therapist says, you have this lid on this bottle, and all you're doing is letting a little bit out, just enough to relieve the pressure, because you feel like you have to stay strong, because people are literally watching you to see how you're going to be. And I don't know if it's because they're actually concerned, or if they really want to see if you're going to break, so they can say, they can say, oh, well, she done lost it. Oh, you're strong. And people can say you're strong, but I tell people the same thing every time. It doesn't change. It's not me.
No.
It's God.
No.
It is an absolutely, hands down, positively not me that keeps it together. It is nobody but God. Because although I don't look like, or I don't try to carry myself in a way that people say you should for other people to see you, does not mean that He has not, given me the strength that I need.
Right.
But, I don't know. It's just, it just doesn't look the same for everybody, and you can't expect people to have a timeline either, because
exactly.
I've had people say, well, they didn't say to me, I haven't been to a funeral since Kalia's. I'm not comfortable. And the thing is, I lost people back to back.
Yeah.
My aunt passed away, and it was just my stepmother passed away. I couldn't go, and my uncle passed away, and there was family members that would say, well, by now she ought to be able to. You can't say that to someone.
No, because
you can't put a timeline on it.
It's not. There's not a certain time frame for somebody to grieve, but what we do have to watch when it turns from grief into depression. And that's the thing, because grief, when you let it linger along, it also have physical symptoms as well. You don't sleep well. You may lose weight. You may gain weight. You may be tired all the time. And a lot of people don't take a lot of that stuff into an account. I know when my stepmom passed, before my dad, I was doing a lot of sleeping. Because that was unexpected, and really my dad passed was kind of unexpected, because he had been sick, been in the hospital, but that whole situation, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I was angry. We went to the hospital on a Friday to do a checkup, And I'm like, you know, Dad, we can get a second opinion, whatever, whoop to whoop. I step out of the room for just a little bit, come back, everybody excited. And I'm like, what's happening? My dad asked to be put back into the hospital. Oh, I was like, what the? Why? Why? You know, I didn't understand why he asked to do that. So I'm mad. Yeah, I'm mad.
And it's okay.
And I'm mad because that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. It wasn't what I wanted, but he had to have known something that I didn't know because, you know, I mean, I didn't even go back up to the hospital on Saturday at all. Like, but thing is, I never missed a day at that hospital when my dad was there, but that day. And then I'm out coming back into my house and get a call from grandmother saying they said you need to call the family. So I put my shoes back on, go up there, and it just kind of went from there. In my situation, I had to make a lot of decisions. And I was angry because I was like, I'm not ready to be taking care of no parent. Like, I ain't at that part of my life to where I feel like I'm ready to be taking care of a parent. You know? But it's been 3 years. And I lost my stepmom too. So for a long time, I really felt, I don't want to say shame or something because my sisters are young and they've lost both of their parents. And sometimes when I would say, well, my mama, because we have different moms, it made me feel, you know, some kind of way because they don't have theirs, and I really didn't know how to, you know, I guess react or respond or be, you know, with that. But for me, my coping was therapy. I actually started going to therapy maybe a month after my dad got into the hospital. I've always been to therapy, but I really needed it then. And God, of course, prayer, worship music, talking to, you know, family, more prayer, and prayer and prayer and prayer and prayer and
talking
you
to
know,
God.
And all of that, you know, and you just, you know, you get to, some people get to the part of acceptance quicker, and some, you know, it take them a little bit of time. I miss my dad. I miss him.
That's a hard thing for me to be able to say.
Yeah.
Is to say that I miss Kalia, because when you say that, it makes it real.
Yeah.
When you say, I would give anything to have her back, it makes it real. And a part of my coping and, you know, my healing is this.
Yeah.
Is to be able to sit down and talk about it, you know, in hopes that this helps someone else. And that her passing, which is, all those words are words that are hard to say. Because like for me, I'm not at that point of acceptance. I think I'm just in denial. I say I'm riding on autopilot because I just go and I do. So saying that she's died or putting that in the same sentence with her, it breaks my heart. And so to say that, it's hard to say I miss her, but then I turn around and feel guilty because I can't say it, you know. And so that's when the guilt sets in. And so it's different for people because some people can acknowledge it and talk about it and be okay. I'm still at the point where, like, I feel like I'm gonna break down you know.
And that's okay.
So it's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because it's okay that you're not at that point. You may still be at a point where you break down, but it's okay. And don't let anybody make you feel like it's not. Don't rush it. Let time take, this for me is a lifetime. It's a new norm. It's one that I had to learn, how to navigate through without a child. But, it's okay, It's okay to be in this place because I know that I'm further along today than I was 2 years ago or even a year ago. Because the whole month of May, I just wouldn't even do nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
You have really made some great strides.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of you, even for when, you came up with the topic to even do this podcast and then record. I was kind of like, "Are you sure? Are you gonna, you gonna be able to do that?" He was like, "Yeah," because I think it would not only help others, it's gonna help me.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of you for jumping on here and sharing your truth, sharing your story. Being vulnerable, being transparent. But I do want to let you know, and everybody that's listening, is that grief comes in waves. Just because I can sit up here today and say I miss my dad or I accept, tomorrow could be a whole different thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. It goes up, down. It just kind of like hits you in waves. Like sometimes I could be perfectly fine, and then I'm watching something on TV that triggers me, mm-hmm. and I'm over there boo-hooing and then stop my nose up, yeah. From crying or whatever. So, I want everybody to know that just because, you feel okay right now, that may not always be the case. You still gonna have moments. I don't care if it's 20 years from now.
Yep.
You still gonna have moments. Like I said earlier, if anything is significant to you, you have that right to grieve. You're gonna grieve. So I guess my next thing would be, because we've talked about grieving, the loss of someone that we love due to death. What about losing other things that's not as, I don't know. I don't want to say not as serious, but not as...
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Divorce.
Yeah.
I grieved after my divorce. I was sad because I felt like I had failed.
Yeah.
I felt like I thought that I did everything that I should, everything that I knew to do, mm-hmm. but that was not good enough. Yeah. And so I cried. I was depressed. I think I went through a bargaining stage.
Yeah.
I went through an angry stage. I was mad as hell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, you know what? God's on my side. And this was a roller coaster. God's on my side and he know the right thing to do. And I'll be like, well, maybe if I would have done this. So you definitely do go through all those stages. So don't let anybody tell you that the grieving process is in order. Because it's not.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go through all of those. So it's natural to mourn a relationship.
Yeah,
it's natural to mourn a relationship.
When I got ghosted.
Oh, Lord, we ain't going to talk about being ghosted. We ain't going to talk about
when I got ghosted, that really broke me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that really broke me. For someone that you was talking to every day, you built this, relationship with, and you decide that you want to express, how you feel, be transparent, and then after that, they disappear on you. Mm-hmm. When we've already said, in the beginning that, if things change up or whatever, the main thing is communication.
Mm-hmm.
And you disappear on me. Like, you Don't talk to me no more. You don't answer nobody. As a matter of fact, you blocked me like I did something wrong to you. That tore me up, and I think I'm still kind of experiencing a little bit, from that.
It's gonna trigger you. Yeah, it's gonna, because the moment someone does anything remotely similar to what that person done in your next relationship or in your current relationships, you're going to automatically assume or think that they're about to make the same moves that person did.
Like, oh, he about to stop fooling with me.
Yes, it's
Brace
the same.
yourself.
Yeah, and you can, and if you think about that, as far as grief and loss, you can kind of like compare in some ways, because it frightens me for it to rain and I know my girls are driving somewhere. It scares me. So the minute there is something that may be similar or something, it frightens me. I'm scared. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same way in grieving in a relationship and in a loss in a relationship, is because the moment that they start doing the same things or they show those same traits, you get afraid. And then so what are you doing? You guarding yourself up. You calling. I call them girls and be like, are y'all all right? You gonna talk to the person you with and be like, is everything okay? Did I make do something? So grief and loss does come in different shapes and sizes and the situations, as far as like not just the loss of a loved one, but the loss of a relationship, like just talking about a job or things of that nature. It's just trying to learn how to navigate through it and cope with it, because we haven't been taught that. So to allow people to see what that looks like and that how you're feeling, those emotions that you're feeling because of that, is okay. You know what I'm saying?
And that's
just
one
don't
thing that
live
I
in
don't
it.
like about this particular catch flights, not feelings culture that we have. Like,
I'm a catch flights and feelings because I love my feelings.
I mean, they make it as if like feelings are bad. If
Because
God created us to have these feelings, so they must be needed for something. It triggers you to let you know that something ain't right.
Right.
Like, you don't walk around here like a damn zombie.
But you're designed to love.
I
mean, that's what we're created to do. That is what love covers, a multitude of sins. So, if love covers a multitude of sins, and then in the last days, the Bible tells us that, people are going to be more of lovers of themselves, and we're living in a time that's what it is right now. That's the catch flights, not feelings mentality in this time, is that we're not supposed to love anymore. But that's what we're designed to do. But we've just been hurt. We've been hurt so many times that it's easier to just turn that off and just act like you don't care and become callous than to actually continue to open yourself up.
You didn't show me that you care about me. Write me a love text.
Like back in the day, hey, how are you doing? I decided to drop you a line.
Hello, I was thinking about you.
Yes,
I'm gonna see my way up out of here. I had a whole box of them.
Yes, all summer long, but it's just, I'm going to continue to try and love, regardless.
Yes.
I'm a hopeless romantic.
Yeah, me too.
And so, those are things that, you can't lose that, because that's what we were created to do. We were created to love.
And I'm going to stop apologizing for this shit. Because I be apologizing for my feelings, for how I feel, or that I'm too sensitive or too this. But no, like that's how I was created. Like, why am I going to keep apologizing for how God created me? Apparently, they need a little bit of sensitivity in the world. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm going to stop apologizing. But,
I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I am really glad that y'all tuned in to today's episode. I think this was a great episode. I hope that y'all learned something. I hope that a lot of things that we said resonated with you. And lastly, I hope that you make a lot of progress on your healing journey. Remember, it is a journey, not a destination. And I hope that you all will tune in to Casual Convos and Random Ish with Jamie O and Nurse Bay again.
I'll be back.
All right, later. Thanks for tuning in this week on Casual Convos and Random Ish with Jamie O. Make sure you follow and like our page, Casual Convos and Random Ish with Jamie O on Facebook to keep up with the latest and upcoming episodes. Also, make sure you share this podcast with your friends and family. Again, thanks for tuning in, and we out.